Welcome to the Fortean Winds podcast, where we talk about UFOs and all the related high strangeness. I go by Bones, and with us as always is Ram X.
Hey everybody.
Hey Ram. So today we are going to depart from the paranormal and talk about cover-ups. And there's a big cover-up right now being covered by mainstream media, and not covering it enough. We need to discuss that.
Yeah, I think everyone needs to discuss this right now, because this speaks to the type of institutional power structures that are the absolute worst and commit the absolute worst crimes. So look, if you've got us here, something got really up.
Yeah.
This is a very weird story, but I don't think it involves anything paranormal, and it just involves human evil and secrecy. Let's start with a what if. What if I told you the most prolific trafficker in modern U.S. history wasn't just protected, he was enabled, financed, and insulated at every level of society? This episode isn't about conspiracy theories. It's about court documents, signed immunity deals, sealed files, and testimonies buried for decades. We're breaking down the operational infrastructure of Jeffrey Epstein, how an unqualified math teacher became a billionaire financier, and how his network still hasn't been held accountable.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Epstein infrastructure, so we got to get into that.
So today we're going to talk about his mysterious hiring by OSS officer Donald Barr at Dalton Private School, which is a very prestigious private school. And Donald Barr is the father of Trump's first Attorney General, William Barr, which will become very relevant to the story. And his financial legitimization by Les Wexner. To his full spectrum insulation by the U.S. legal system, Epstein was enabled, protected, and ultimately allowed to die with no justice delivered.
Yeah, so this guy dropped out of college. He was from, Coney Island, New York, and somehow gets this teaching position at a really prestigious private school, right? Is that how? Right. That's how it begins.
Yeah, Dalton School, and the headmaster of Dalton School is Donald Barr. So Donald Barr is not only the father of William Barr, he's an author, okay?
Okay.
And he's an author of a science fiction book, which has been described as both profoundly pretentious and disgusting.
Oh.
And it's about this spacefaring society of elite oligarchs who end up enslaving this planet and using the people there as their sexual playthings. And it's really because they're bored and sadistic, and these are the types of power games they play, and it's kind of got this amoral character to it. So that novel is now worth $200 on eBay.
Wow. And that's Bill Barr's father who authored that?
Yes.
Strange. Yeah. Okay.
And he authors this prior to hiring Epstein. So you could think that's a couple of different ways. I'm actually glad we're talking about this on Fortean Winds. I was thinking about us doing a little detour and doing an entirely separate podcast, just a short series on just this subject, because it's so important. We'll talk about that at the end. But let's go through the facts, because I think the facts are damning all on their own.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it gives us a really good look into basically government cover-ups and in gaslighting at a giant level.
Yes. So that book, when I had one of our AI tools, which we have all these criminal analysis tools that I will discuss at some point also today, but I had it doing a comparative analysis of that book to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. And it uses GPT as its underlying AI, and it flagged me for community guidelines.
Ah.
So the point is, the comparative analysis was so disgusting, I guess, that GPT was like, we can't even discuss this.
Right.
And I'm actually grateful for some of that, but the correlation is beyond coincidental. You know, you can believe that that's the universe talking to you, and maybe it is. We talk about some of that stuff on this show. Synchronicities do tell us something. But I don't think so. I don't think that this was anything paranormal. I think this was someone telling you what they were going to do before they did it. Because that guy then hires Jeffrey Epstein.
Right.
And the rumors begin at Dalton of him being inappropriate with kids.
Ugh.
So Bart ends up leaving in a huff, some sort of administrative kerfuffle. And Donald Barr's previous experience was as an OSS intelligence officer, which is a precursor to the CIA. And as we discussed, and this will become relevant in this case, David Grush said it on the floor of Congress, which is a matter of historical reference. And we have even the government historical documents that document all of this. When the CIA was founded, it was the OSS, it was the Vatican, it was organized crime, and it was big money, banking, utilities, natural resources owners, that sort of thing.
Right.
That's who founded intelligence. Okay? So one of the things that we were ahead of the game on, and if you've been listening to Fortean Winds, you're familiar with, is the difference between assets and agents. And that's going to come up a lot today too. Just to recap in 5 seconds, an asset basically is doing what they're doing on their own, and the handler, the agent, is behind them, enabling them, supporting them, making sure they keep doing it.
Right.
An agent is doing something intentionally, they know for whom they work. Now, this stretches beyond the 3-letter agencies that everyone wants to name as the bad guys. This difference between assets and agents became very relevant here when recently Pam Bondi calls in all these influencers into the White House, and she hands them what the Epstein case files and binders, right?
Right.
And she has them show it. Like, look, we gave you all the evidence.
Yeah, they had a whole photo app outside of the White House with them all holding up the binders. Yeah.
So funny thing about those binders, not only did they contain already available public information, but they attempted to redact the already available public information.
Yeah.
They weren't just public. They attempted to reset the public information with less information. Right. So that's an asset. And some of those people are really upset about that and are speaking out against it. I think Liz Wheeler was one of them that I saw recently, just really spot on about what happened there. Like, she was used. She was used as an asset. It's not just the 3-letter agencies that do it. It's this network that does it. And that involves the journalism field, and it involves media. This is how it works. There's a lot of historical evidence of this. There's been congressional hearings where all of this stuff came out. So it becomes especially relevant here. And we're going to watch it all play out. So Donald Barr is a part of that. William Barr's father is a part of that. He's the one that introduces Epstein into elite networks. And so there he is with no college degree, being inappropriate with females, and teaching math and physics at one of the most prestigious schools in New York.
So that's how he gets into the scene. How does he make all the money? Because wasn't he worth $1 billion?
Yeah, that's going to get into Wexner and his financial legitimization. One thing that has been pointed out many times is that it's just purely unclear as to why he got as wealthy as he did. So he ends up going from being a math and physics teacher with no college degree to working at Bear Stearns. Again, just mysteriously moving up, not even failing up. He's just mysteriously moving up with no credentials. So Les Wexner is the CEO of L Brands, and he gave Epstein power of attorney, a New York City mansion, and full financial autonomy. And Wexner never fully explains why. He says, it's because Epstein helped him with his taxes, and that was a $170 million payment, right? And then he says all of the information that Epstein gave him was publicly available. So Wexner's story is basically that he gave Epstein $170 million for a Google search.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't. It almost sounds like it's where it all began. Like if there was some kind of blackmailing going on already at that point.
I think that's one of the open questions. And we should point out some of the open questions that everyone wanted from this disclosure that is now, they're saying, never going to happen. So it's important for us to point out what those open questions are, because one way they're attempting to gaslight us is by saying there is no client list. He didn't write on a whiteboard who their names were and what they did.
Right. for some reason we don't hear about it in the news lately, but I remember when the FBI cracked open Epstein's vault in his New York City home, they made a statement saying they found CD-ROMs with videos, and all those CD-ROMs were labeled with frickin' names on them. And suddenly that's gone? I mean, are we just supposed to forget about that? There was also speculation then that these were being used as basically tools of blackmail.
Yeah. So every one of his properties was covered in cameras.
Right.
And this is one of the things that just doesn't add up with what the FBI is saying now, or the AG. And I can't believe that the FBI is involved. I don't want to go off on that right now. But the FBI is typically the most legal of any of the agencies. So legal, in fact, that I think they're often ineffectual. Their hands are tied.
Yeah.
So the fact that the FBI is engaged in this cover-up is just beyond the pale. We all really need to scream as loud as we can.
Yeah, and you know, while we're seeing basically a purge of people that work for the FBI also. So a lot's changing.
So what's happening to the evidence? You know, and that's why it's so important that we keep track. So in order to keep track, just like we do with UFOs, which is so important because we know the evidence disappears. We know that there's real evidence. We document it, and then that evidence disappears. And we have the proof because we documented it and kept it. And we know how important that is. So just like that, it's important that we do that during this time. And to that end, we put together a 35-part Twitter thread, 280 characters per post. And it covers basically everything that we're talking about today, which is all coming from court documents, public records, official news sources, hearings, that sort of thing. This is legal AF. And we say alleged when it's alleged. We don't want to see anyone go down for this that didn't do anything.
Right.
But the people who are clearly involved have never had their names cleared.
Right.
So if they have nothing to hide, they shouldn't be afraid of the investigation.
Right. We have to make the correlation because of the gaslighting that we always see when it comes to the UFO topic. It's
right.
It's constant. Some new information comes up, a bunch of sightings happen. You have people in power that are saying, "Oh, wait, hold up, maybe there is something," and then it comes back with a bunch of gobbledygook and
the narrative completely changes.
Yeah.
You have the message and you have the narrative, and that's something I want to introduce talking about today too. So what the intelligence field and these people, right? These people of power and influence that we just discussed were there at the founding of the CIA and continue to play these games in their own way. They play these games in the media. They play these games in geopolitics. So it's the same game. Assets, agents, influence, the same types of games that are being played in intelligence are being played in all of those different places.
Yeah.
And in those places, you have the message and you have the narrative. So the person who wants control just wants to tell the message, right? So in this case, the message from Trump, when a reporter asks about Epstein the next day after they say case closed, he says, "Why are you still talking about Epstein? How dare you? Why aren't you talking about all of our successes and our tragedies?"
Right.
Like, tries to immediately shame him into shutting up. That's the message, right? So then it becomes a narrative by people who want to believe that.
Right.
And the narrative becomes, oh, Trump is just saying that because he's working on something in the background. Well, we'll see. But there's no evidence of that right now. There was the message that he wanted you to shut up. And then you created a narrative that gave people permission to shut up.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, totally.
Because we're seeing people with their kimonos off. Who are you really? Were you really after the truth? Or are you a surrogate for someone in power?
Right.
And look at them in this moment because the facts are damning. So if they're trying to confuse the message and the narrative, if they're taking a message from anyone, because there's people on the left and the right in America that are caught up in this.
Yep.
So if they're taking a message from anyone and trying to spin that narrative, And I've seen it on MSNBC and I've seen it on Fox. They're trying to basically say it didn't really happen and it's the other party's fault.
Right.
But they're both agreeing that it didn't happen. Come on.
Yeah.
No, it happened. And it's whoever ends up being caught up in its fault. Yes, there's no client list, but there's flight logs, there's communication records, and there's a ton of video.
Mm-hmm.
From that, the brilliant investigators at the FBI should be able to put together a client list.
Oh, yeah.
Call it whatever you want to call it. I would call it criminal co-conspirators, which have yet to be prosecuted. The only one that was prosecuted was Ghislaine Maxwell.
That's
How
right.
could she be a criminal co-conspirator if there was no conspiracy?
Right, right.
So to the end of keeping track, we began a 35-part Twitter thread that covers pretty much concisely everything that we're going to talk about today. Factual format, all sorts from public records and court documents, things like that. It's a cheat sheet for those of you out there who are researching this case on your own, or especially if you want to create some media or get the word out in whatever way you do. Use that as a reference, a starting point to begin your investigation and go, okay, I can dive deeper into this part of it. And we'll be happy to be supporting your work as well. So please share it. Please like it. We actually got on X.com to go do that. We've never done that for UFOs. So this one, we really want to get the word out.
Yeah.
It is a little bit of a shouting match on there, but I just don't care at this point. There's just facts on there. So
Right.
Please like it, share it, and let's get the word out. There's also a master document where I don't know where we're going to publish yet that maps out the operations behind this network. I'll figure out somewhere and drop a link in the podcast description.
Yeah, so, I mean, to go back to Epstein's timeline, then, you know, he mysteriously gets this job with Bear Stearns, making a ton of money. And then what goes on from there? He builds this network of evil, basically.
Yeah, he starts building this network of influence at that point. And so that's where the list of more than 100 names of celebrities and influential people come from. But some of those people have allegations in the public against them.
Mm-hmm.
And when the FBI says case closed, people like, I'm sure, Prince Andrew feel very good. He was stretching out. You had Bill Clinton. You had Donald Trump. You had people from different parties. You had people, their names are all in it. If they want them cleared, they should want a full investigation and they should want the evidence to come forward.
Sure. You'd think they'd want to clear their name, right?
So that's where we get a lot of the pictures. That's where we get a lot of the videos from Epstein and celebrities. That's where the allegations come from. And then in the public, I think people start building their lists, right, of who they think is guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And this ends up being like UFOs, where everyone wants the Epstein conclusion to be whatever they think it should be.
Right.
And all of their people vindicated and all of the other sides. But look, this is a matter of power and morality. And I think it stretches beyond any sort of simple political party BS.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's a moral argument. I mean, why can't the U.S. justice system or institutions, why can't they resolve something like this? It's obviously very wrong.
Yeah, that legal firewall, which we're going to talk about. But the network structure had an inner circle. It had operational support. It had elite participants, and it had institutional protectors.
Right.
So in the inner circle, we had one person get charged. And in the inner circle, you've got Maxwell, you've got Kellen, her assistant, Groff, Markinova. Oh, Brunel did get charged. Brunel is a guy who runs a modeling agency, and he has a bunch of crossover with Epstein, and he ends up getting charged. And then he dies in prison of an alleged suicide. Now, all of those people that I just mentioned end up getting protected in a 2008 non-prosecution agreement because Epstein ends up getting busted.
That's right.
For messing around with minors. And the attorney of the Southern District at the time is Alexander Acosta. And that name's probably going to sound familiar to you because he was Trump's labor secretary during his first term.
Mm-hmm.
And this stuff came out, and he had to explain it. And what he said was why he gave Epstein that non-prosecution agreement and this incredible sweetheart deal, which we'll give you some details about, was because he was told that Epstein belonged to intelligence and it was above his pay grade. He was the attorney for the Southern District of Florida at the time. Who's above your pay grade? Supreme Court justices? Presidents?
Yeah. But wait, he was talking about Epstein being an agent?
Yes, he said it was belonged to intelligence, which could make him an agent or an asset. I guess at that point he would have to have been an agent because he would have known for whom he worked.
Right.
It's really not a question of whether or not this was an intelligence operation. It's a question of to whom did it belong.
Right.
So all of those inner circle end up getting protected by Acosta in that deal. And Epstein goes to jail, but after a few months, he's allowed to go out on work release. He has a couple of deputies go with him on these work releases. And they answer his desk for him, and they have to wear suits. While he's in jail, right? Going to his office, being driven by his driver.
Right.
Obviously, we already see a huge disparity. Because if Jeffrey Epstein was a construction worker, he would not be being treated that way.
Right. No doubt.
We already see a huge drop off, even if you didn't believe this was an intelligence operation, in terms of the quality under the law. So we were talking about the 4 tiers of this network structure, and the second tier would be operational support. The inner circle gets protected by Acosta. What happens to the staff, the butlers, the assistants, the pilots? Well, they all end up giving testimony. That's a matter of public record.
Right.
And then the third tier was the elite participants. These are royalty, as we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
These include presidents. These include billionaires. And these people were named in flight logs.
Right.
And we know this.
And he did seem to try to buddy up with just high-profile individuals. I'm not sure if it was just they're trying to create this rich guy social club because he had his own island, right, in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Hey, come to my island, we'll party and be rich together. And it just with that comes some twisted evidently.
Bill Gates, who I think met with him 4 times, but said he had no friendship or business relationship with him. Said that the reason he was doing so was he thought Epstein would be helpful in getting the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
College dropout.
Yeah.
Failed math and physics teacher.
Right.
He would be really helpful in getting the Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
Case is not closed. So then you have the elite participants. What's the next layer of the structure? The next layer of the structure are the institutional protectors. This is Department of Justice in this case. There's judges. There's the media. There's prosecutors. There's defenders. There's the court system, right?
Mm-hmm.
They all step in to protect the elites. And here we're seeing the most egregious example of it I have ever seen in my lifetime. The only thing that comes close to this level of slap in the face open corruption is the Warren Commission, is JFK. And this is worse. This is objectively worse in every way. There is so much more evidence that so much more was going on here.
Yeah.
And we're being told to shut up and take it. We cannot allow this to happen.
No, I mean, they ruined lives of minors, of the victims. I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk about the horrible stories here today, but there was one that just got me. And I'll say it in the most succinct way I can. But him flying in 12-year-old triplets from France for his birthday and then flying them back the next day. If that doesn't enrage you.
Yeah.
And I think that Trump and whomever else is wrong. I think that you're wrong. I think that more people agree with us than you. I think more people in the world. I think more people in America. I think that you're wrong.
Yeah, it's sick. I mean, it's on the surface. It just looks like a tale of just excess, right? You just have these twisted individuals that just can never get enough. He's got his own island. That's not enough. It's like it's insanity. It's gross.
Yeah, it's basically Bill Barr's planet, or Bill Barr. It's basically Bill Barr's dad's planet.
Right. Yeah, weird.
And that's okay, coincidental, I guess.
Right.
But it's super weird.
Yeah.
So that's how the network works. And we outlined all of that in the Twitter thread, and we'll have a larger document as well. Let's get back to the timeline. So he gets out of prison early, of course, and then he immediately goes back to doing what he was doing. So he was enabled at that point. He was enabled by Acosta. And then the victims come after him. And there's allegations that Bondi got in the way of the victims getting paid out.
Think about it. Bill Clinton, he's on those flight logs like a lot. And if there was any chance of sticking it to any Clinton, for sure there would be a client list coming out. If
it was all one side or the other.
Right, that's what I mean.
Because the Biden DOJ didn't move on it either.
Right? Yeah.
If it was all one side or the other, they would have done it.
Probably.
It's not all one side or the other.
No.
And why would you think it is? Why do you think morality follows these corporations? That's what political parties are. They're corporations. So a big part of this is also the properties. Epstein's famous island, which is called Bleep Island.
Yeah.
And then you had the Manhattan townhouse, which was loaded with cameras. So that's the one where we know there's a ton of evidence that should come out that isn't. There's the Palm Beach place, which was documented in lawsuits as being a site of abuse. So people who went there, let's hear it. What happened?
Yeah. A quick drive to Mar-a-Lago from there.
Right. There's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. And Bill Richardson, the governor of New Mexico, also a Democrat that is very high up in the party, has allegations against him here too.
Yep.
And then you have the apartment in Paris, which was a European trafficking gateway, and a lot of these girls came from there. So we document how that worked.
Yeah, so they had like a whole system of just grooming, right? And it seemed to
it was a system of grooming and control.
Yeah.
And it worked in a systematic manner. And they looked for girls that were vulnerable, runaways, emotionally unstable. And then they began buddying up to them, showing them what wealth looked like.
Right.
And then they started testing them out with massages. And then they'd test them out a little further and see how far it goes. And then they would reward silence. They had a system of rewarding silence.
Yeah, and I think I remember hearing, they were at a certain age where they were trying to sell the idea of like a college scholarship too and stuff like that.
Yeah, then they would turn some of the victims into recruiters as they aged and became trusted. That is some sick shit.
It is. And for what? Just because they have this twisted society of just depraved, super rich guys. It's just... This
is how psychological warfare works.
Yeah.
And they were using it on minors. This is some sick stuff.
Yeah.
So all of this horror, and then all of this protection, and all of this lack of justice makes us all ask why. And the leading theory, which I can hardly even consider it a theory, how are you calling this a conspiracy when it's completely documented in the open, and the non-prosecution agreement we linked to?
Mm-hmm.
That's not a conspiracy. It happened.
Right.
It's history. Obviously, this makes it look very likely we would go by the same types of intelligence analysis that we do for everything. It's on the About section at Fortean Winds.
Yeah.
Criminal cases are no different. We would go, obviously, this looks very much like an intelligence operation. You have camera systems in every residence. Rooms were rigged for surveillance. Multiple insiders claimed Epstein was used to compromise elite.
Yep.
And then you have the succession of blackmail plus leverage equals immunity.
Right.
So powerful people who have named, like Ehud Barak, who was the former prime minister of Israel.
I mean, were they even questioned by investigators at all? I mean, probably.
If they were, why not tell us?
Yeah.
Don't you want your name cleared?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It clear when you put it that way. You're right. It's just you start to see it as this just network of folks protecting themselves, protecting each other, all the way to the top.
It's the only reason for silence.
Yeah.
A crime this bad. I mean, we're not talking about one incident. The JFK incident was terrible, but it happened on one day.
Mm-hmm.
This happened over decades. The protection happened over decades.
Yeah.
And it was institutional protection. William Barr closed the loop on Epstein's death case. Judges sealed Maxwell's docs. The media suppressed victims for decades. The media was complicit.
Yep.
Names are still redacted in the flight logs and civil suits. Pam Bondi blocked cases as the Florida AG, and she ends up being the AG of the U.S.
Right. So she's rewarded for that shady conduct. Yeah.
So forget about the client list. We're not asking for a client list. Let me be very specific of what we're asking for. Many co-conspirators are unindicted. We would like to know why. Is it because you did the investigation and cleared them? Because you're not saying that.
Right.
The civil lawsuits are sealed. We would also like to know why. And we would like all of the information that came out of the investigation from the island. And it's sad for me to see people giving up today. I feel like people are giving up on day 3.
Right. Yeah. Oh, well.
It's because, you can't fight City Hall. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
We've done this. Dude, no one here even has superpowers.
Right.
We can do this.
Right.
And let me tell you how. America isn't the only set of laws in this world, and it's not the only set of courts. Epstein's crimes spanned the globe, so anyone can prosecute this fool and his co-conspirators. I don't care that he's dead. Let's keep prosecuting him.
Yeah.
We can also, in the U.S., begin a process of FOIAs.
Sure, yeah.
We can keep track. We can hold accountable the people who promised us answers and didn't deliver them. Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, who literally got into those positions saying they were going to give us the truth on this. They betrayed everyone.
Yeah. And what about the island? I mean, wasn't there some Epstein estate? It's like, what did they put yellow police tape around the whole freaking island? I mean, why isn't that being investigated in more detail?
That was number 4 on my list. That's my ask. I'm not asking for a client list.
Yeah.
Stop treating the public like they're crazy. They're going to treat you like we know this from UFOs, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going to treat you like you're crazy.
Right. There's so many parallels with that. Yeah, it's exactly what they do. It's just gaslighting at a giant scale. They make you feel like everyone's has mass hysteria.
Yeah, this wasn't the story of one single predator. It's the story of a network. It was protected by power.
Yeah.
It was insulated by the law, and it was shielded by silence. This case is not over. It's just suppressed. That's all. We're used to this.
Yeah.
Our job is to remember. We're going to speak. We need you to share. Because if this vanishes from the record, it will happen again.
Sure. Of course. That's the whole premise of bringing justice, right?
Well, I'm sorry to have to have taken this diversion. And we're going to keep talking about this somehow in some fashion until it gets resolved. Because now I'll get into the Fortean piece about this.
Yeah.
Because I looked into it from that angle, by the way. I didn't find evidence of ritual. Like, I didn't find evidence of hermetic occults stuff here.
No owl masks being worn.
No, I did. I did look into it from that angle. I think this is plain old human evil.
Yeah.
But I think that it created a tear. It created a wound in our society that will fester if we don't clean it up. Yeah,
very true. I mean, it makes you wonder now. It's like we always positioned ourselves to be above, like the style of, you call it compromat, right? Where the Soviet style of blackmail. We were always above that, right? We're supposed to be above that. But now
I believed that.
And now we're...
I fell for that.
Yeah, right. But it puts our standards as a nation into question. And now I'm thinking about how much blackmail is really being used when it comes to the UFO question about disclosure.
Great question. Grush brought it up. He said all of this same stuff Grush said happens in the UFO world, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking about murder. We're talking about blackmail. We're talking about threats of violence. All of the same stuff. Yeah. It's the same group of people.
Yep. Seems to be.
Or it's coming from the same network, right? At least.
Right.
And it's people with influence and power and people who don't. And this is where this is the birth of conspiracy theories. It's those of us on the outside going, how does this all work? And, the danger and lure of conspiracy theories is that they make everything make sense. And in real life, it doesn't.
Right. Good point.
And we know this from UFOs. I know that this is one way I can always smell bullshit in UFOs, is that someone's telling me something that makes perfect sense about UFOs.
Right, there you go.
Like,
That sounds the alarm. Wait, that makes perfect sense. That's a good one. Yeah. Well, good discussion. It's a horrible topic, but I really do see the relevance in discussing it and the importance. Keep on keeping on. Everyone, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Please check out those resources. If you want to make media based on some of that stuff, hopefully that seeds you.
Yeah, definitely. Let's just, let's keep it going, keep the message going, and keep collecting data and not give up.
Right on. See you next time, y'all.
All right. Until next time.